One Mama 15 Minutes was all it took to change everything. Welcome to the Be Well podcast. Here we share real stories, have honest conversations, and offer practical wisdom to help women prepare for pregnancy, birth, postpartum, and beyond. I'm your host, Candace Jackson, birth and postpartum doula, childbirth educator, wife, and mama of two. So, have you ever wondered what it was like to walk into the hospital, fully dilated, and give birth within 15 minutes of arriving? For most moms, it sounds like something out of a movie, right? But today's guest actually lived it. Her story is a powerful reminder how instinctive birth can be when we trust our bodies and surrender to the process. We'll talk about what led to her quick birth, how she knew it was time to go in, and what she learned along the way. So take a deep breath, mama, and let's dive into this incredible birth story. Welcome to the Be Well podcast, Kayla. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what it is that you do?
Thank you so much for having me, Candace. Yeah, sure. As you mentioned, I'm a mom of two. I'm a stepmom. I'm a boy mom. I have a toddler. I'm still nursing him. My stepdaughter, she's 11. I work full time for a corporate company, a Fortune 50. And I recently moved my family from Oregon to South Carolina. We just closed on a home. There's been a lot of recent changes. It's a season of transition. And of course, we're getting ready to welcome my second baby, our third child, on November the 16th. So I'm just getting my bearings and trying to adjust.
How has motherhood shifted your perspective on balancing work and then also wellness?
Sure. I think when you become a mom for the first time, it can be all consuming. And so you want to just put that baby first. It's your natural instinct to, you know, take care of that baby. But you really have to, and I think it was something that I had to learn along the way, and something that I think I'm still learning is that you've got to invest in your wellness, and that's got to be the top priority. Because if you're not at your best mentally, physically, and if you're not taking care of yourself, you're not going to be able to show up for everyone else around you. That's something I'm still working through, especially trying to balance my career, a really demanding career. But I would say wellness is number one. And then the other thing is you're always replaceable at your job, right? You're not replaceable as a mom. So on the other end of that is you have to try to find balance between the two, right? It's contradictory, but again, taking care of yourself so that you can show up for your family and for those around you, for your job. But at the same time, always remembering that your family and your children should always come first. So again, a constant struggle. I feel guilty a lot, but it's just a part of my journey and something that I'm trying to work through and learn and grow with along the way.
I love that. I love that you have such a great perspective on balancing work life as well as balancing your home life and not allowing one to take from the other. It's all about balance. So let's take it all the way back to January of 2024. Can you walk us through the day that you gave birth to your son?
Absolutely. So I know that even though I had a 15-minute quick natural birth, my labor was 36, 37 hours. My son was born on a Friday at 1:21 p.m., but it was Wednesday around 3 or 4 p.m. when I actually went into labor. Just for a little background, I had HG, hyperemesis gravidarum, with my first baby. It was really, really difficult. My first and second trimester. It affects approximately 3% of pregnancies in the US, and it's just extreme nausea. Can't eat, can't keep down water. And so I think I didn't get to enjoy a lot of my pregnancy. I was suffering through that and concerned about the baby's nutrition. And that stopped on its own somewhere in the beginning of the third trimester, but came back, that nausea, that extreme nausea came back in full swing when I went into labor. It was kind of a blessing in disguise. It's a weird thing to say, but I think that took my mind off of the contractions and the pain. And also, you don't really know exactly what to expect. I think I was second guessing myself a lot because I was like, am I in labor? Are these contractions? Is this HG coming back? Is this anxiety? But I think when I look back on it now, my attention and what I was struggling with was shifted from the labor pains to that nausea. And so by the time I did get to the hospital, it was surprising to hear that I was fully dilated. But I remember walking in, my husband checked me in. I was pretty uncomfortable at that point. The nurse said, hey, do you mind if I check to see, where you're at? And so she checked my cervix and her eyes got wide, and my husband and I looked at each other and she was like, you're complete. And we were like, what does that mean? What does that mean? And she was like, you're fully dilated. And that was shocking to hear because in my mind I was like, am I going to be able to do a natural birth? I'm about ready to raise the flag and to ask for an epidural. By that point, it
Right.
was too late. But she called someone on the speaker, and within 30 seconds, there was like two nurses, a young paramedic, the doctor, and one or two other staff members that like rushed into the room, and they immediately wheeled me back. And once we got into the birthing room, they were like, "You're ready to go. You're ready to push." I didn't have any machines. I didn't have a belly band that was checking the heart rate. It was all very fast paced and raw and natural. Obviously, my adrenaline was going hard. And within a few minutes, they were like, "It's time to push." So it happened extremely fast. And within 14 minutes, my baby was here. And I think I was in shock. One thing I want to say too is it doesn't make it an easy or perfect scenario or anything like that, because I think in my mind, I was like excited to get in the warm bath and have my husband rub my back and jump on a birthing ball and right have soft music playing. And so I think you don't want to get into your head or have too high of expectations, because no matter how perfect or how smooth or how fast or how natural or whatever your perfect birth situation and labor situation is, there's always things that you would have liked or maybe would have pictured that could have been
Right.
different or better. So I don't want to say lower expectations, but be open minded, because otherwise you're going to set yourself up for disappointment. But overall, we were very blessed to welcome our baby boy, and we were home by Sunday. So we did 2 nights in the hospital. Our daughter stayed in the room with us because we didn't have a lot of family in Oregon. So no one to stay at home with our big kid. So it was just our whole family just bundled up and sleeping over in our uncomfortable hospital room with the bright light. And a lot of it, again, is a blur because there was just so much going on and you're recovering and it all happened so fast. But overall, we're very blessed at how things panned out.
You said a lot. Now, I want to go back to your laboring at home, especially with the HG symptoms. You said 36 hours. So, what did you do during that time or during that process of you laboring for those 36 hours at home?
Oh, I was making all kinds of noises. I was watching TV. I was on a birthing ball. I was laying in bed. And again, like for some reason, I don't know if I was in denial or if I just didn't know what to expect and I was naive or I was just really nauseous, but I don't know if it really hit me for at least the first 24 hours that I was in full blown labor. Something I didn't mention earlier is that this was early Friday morning. My water did finally break. So I know that happens at
Okay.
a different time for everybody. But at that point, I felt an urge to start pushing. And then 2 minutes later, my water broke. And so I was like, oh, snap. Did we wait too long? It's crazy because I was timing my contractions and they were getting closer and closer together, like 3 or 4 minutes apart. And despite all of the info gathering and mental preparations and apps, I don't know, it didn't really click. So my husband was there, but he was also downstairs playing video games and was thinking that the HG was coming back. I think now I'll know what to expect. I know what sensations to look out for, and I definitely plan on heading to the hospital a little sooner this time. But it was very chaotic, and I hope this time around we can put the mood lights on, put some music on. I want to take one of those little back massagers and put my husband to
Yeah.
work, maybe get in a warm bath. The warm baths were very helpful for those HD episodes where I was really nauseous. So I was getting in and out of the warm water, and that was a relief as well. So I was doing a lot of that, but never really fully hit me, I think, until early Friday morning that you should probably get to the hospital. So it was an interesting and unique story for sure.
Now, I want to go back to the fact that you had your stepdaughter with you there. That is something that you don't normally hear unless you're having a home birth. So, how was it having her there and also her experience and her takeaways from being there?
So our master bedroom in our old house was upstairs. So laboring at home, she was downstairs. And once we got to the hospital, though, she was actually at school. And because everything happened so fast, and again, my son was born at 1:21 p.m. So we were actually concerned because who's going to pick her up from school that day? I dropped her off at school that morning, actually, when Jordan was still at work. And then, like I said earlier, around 3 or 4, I was like, there's no way I can pick up Linnea. So he left work early Thursday, picked her up, brought her home, and then I labored through the night Thursday. And then Friday morning, he took her to school. Then he got home. My water broke. We went to the hospital, had the baby. He left, went and picked Linnea up from school, and then brought her back to the hospital. So it
Okay.
was like miraculous timing, right? We didn't need a babysitter or anyone to watch her. We were there to pick her up. And then she stayed in the hospital with us for the following 2 days. So she wasn't there for labor and delivery, but she was on that notorious uncomfortable hospital bed couch. And she had a blast, right? She felt like it was a big sleepover. She felt very included. And she was very helpful and still is with a toddler. She was 10 at the time and she's now 11. So she's definitely old enough to be a huge help in many different aspects. So we're very blessed to have her. And I know she remembers probably a lot of the experience as well.
She has an experience that she will be able to tell all of her friends and have that experience as a memory for her later on in life, because not many children get that opportunity to be present. And I think it's so important for children to be around natural birth, just birth in general. And so that's a special moment. And I know she'll cherish that for the rest of her life. So let's get into preparation. What did you do to prepare your body to labor like you did? You labored like a champ. Other than the HG, you did a lot of birth ball and stretching. So just give us a rundown of all the things that you did, and what would you recommend to another woman that's looking to prepare her body for a natural birth?
So I mentioned I work full time. I'm a supply chain manager in a warehouse. So naturally, I was walking a lot. So if you're not like a huge workout guru or a weightlifter, that's okay as long as you're moving. I honestly can say if I wasn't working because I was sick a lot, I probably would have been a couch potato. You don't have to have some Instagram worthy workout routine. But again, movement on a birthing ball, walking, gardening, stretching, right? Kegels, any kind of movement, any kind of activity is really going to help along the way. Another thing I did was I did squats a lot. I actually had stairs in my house too. So going up and down the stairs naturally was a way that I was staying active throughout the pregnancy. At least once I got past HG, because I was for sure bedridden there for a while, but up and down the stairs. And again, you don't have to have like a crazy workout routine as long as you keep it moving. And then for squats, those started third trimester when I was already getting really big. I have a naturally small frame, but I did a lot of those just holding onto the back of the couch and using a support mechanism. So I think those are like some of the key things that I did. And again, it doesn't have to be anything really crazy. And I'll be honest, I haven't done a lot of intricate home workouts or fancy home workouts in this pregnancy, but I am moving a lot on my feet, working a lot, doing some yard work still. I have a toddler now, so chasing him around, you got to have a lot of energy to keep up with a 2-year-old. Those are some of the things that are keeping me busy now and hopefully preparing me for this one.
I think of nutrition and exercise going hand in hand together. So tell me a little bit about your nutrition.
Before the HG hit in the very early stages, I was eating what I wanted. Once the HG hit, it was really hard to keep any food down. I was concerned about the health of my baby. And it was tough because you're always feeling dehydrated when the HG spells would come on. Even a sip of water would trigger long bouts of nausea and vomiting. I had to go in and get IVs once a week. It was hard to stay fed in general. But my husband made me a lot of bone broth. I have a recipe I can share. The bone broth was great. It was easy on my stomach. It's just packed with nutrients and minerals and proteins and amino acids and pretty much everything that you could really need for your pregnancy. So I would get the grass-fed bone broth at a health food store, and you could throw into a pot whatever vegetables you want. There's a lot of different ways you can make it. You let it simmer for 8 hours, scooping off the foam at the top, and then you can pour that over soups, drink it straight, use it in other recipes. So I think that was one of the main go-to things to just try to keep up with my nutrition. I took ritual prenatal vitamins, and then I also want to say, eat what you freaking want. You don't want to stress and do the most, right? It's okay to like pig out and eat a junky meal. You might get heartburn, but I think you got to enjoy it too. You have cravings, satisfy those cravings. And then as I got closer to birth, there's two things that I did, and they're maybe sometimes considered cliche, but around weeks 32 to 34, I started eating dates. I don't really like the texture of dates, so I put them in smoothies. I have a highlight for recipes on my Instagram. I have one of my favorite recipes that has dates in it, so you can check that out there. But I would blend them up and make drinks. And then also raspberry leaf tea, not really a food, but one of those supplements or herbs that's supposed to be really good for your uterus. I don't know all of the studies and the research behind it, but I did drink a cup of red raspberry leaf tea beginning around week 33 or 34. My birth was unique and quick, so I think that might have probably contributed to how things went down. But those are just a few things that I would say potentially helped me have a quick and natural birth. But man, yeah, I was definitely concerned about my baby's nutrition with HG. The bone broth recipe was not just great for my baby's health, but for hair, skin, nails. It's packed with vitamins, minerals, nutrients, and everything that you could get out of a healthy whole food meal, all in a liquid diet. And unfortunately, through a lot of my first and second trimester, it was a lot of liquids. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, it does. You mentioned the bone broth, and today on my Instagram, I actually posted
Did,
me making chicken feet bone broth. The chicken feet has a lot of collagen in it, so
yeah,
after the broth sets up, it gets really gelatinous, and it's so good and so nourishing. And I make it for breakfast and add a few vegetables, mushroom, onions, carrots to it, and it's just the perfect thing to have. It fills you up, it's nutritious, and
exactly.
so I totally understand having that bone broth.
Yeah, there's so many variations and things you can add in. So there's not one right or wrong way to make it. You can really just throw into the pot whatever you enjoy. It's very versatile. We would put it in mason jars and keep them in the fridge and drink them straight or throw it in a recipe or in a stew or like you said, have it with breakfast. It's just super healthy.
It sure is. And like you mentioned, the different seasonings. So if you get tired of one way, do different seasonings, making something different, add different vegetables.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's go back to your birth. Did you have any tears? Did you do anything to prepare your perineum before? Tell me everything perineum and tears.
Absolutely. I think breathing is a big part of it. I was doing a lot of breathing exercises so that I did tear. So let me preface it by saying I don't want to give out any advice. Pushing out a baby in 14 minutes and not taking the time for the baby to slowly move down the birth canal probably contributed to the tear. But I guess one thing that I can say is, again, pushing for 14 minutes may be unavoidable, especially for a first birth. I also had an 8 pound, 6 ounce baby. So on the larger side, I'm a smaller girl. So I think for me, it was inevitable that was going to happen. But I will say, in the healing process, listen to your body. I'm always very active. I always need to be doing something. And I was up moving a lot. And at some point, I was like, am I making this wound worse? I thought I was maybe tearing more. That wasn't the case. But if you do tear, it's not the end of the world. It sounds horrific. For me, because I had a natural labor, they did a numbing shot and sewed me up right there on the spot once I had the baby on my chest. But my adrenaline was going so hard that it wasn't really something that I felt. So if you're afraid of tearing, don't be. Doing a lot of breathing exercises is going to be really, really helpful for your labor preparation. I think that's the one thing that I can say that I did that was helpful. Listen to your body when you get home. I think it's really easy for women to go stir crazy or to not want to be bedridden. So it's just really important to take care of yourself and to take it easy, even if you get a little bored and feel the need or the itch to start cleaning your house or moving around or walking around. I did tear, so I don't have a lot of great advice on that one.
I think breathing is the biggest thing. The perineum is like a rubber band. So you want to put pressure on your perineum by pushing a little bit, breathe, push a little bit, breathe and push. And a lot of times the hospital instructs you to just push all you can, full force right now.
You
Just
got to listen
breathe
to
your
your
baby
body.
out.
Your doctor's going to
Exactly.
instruct you differently, but you really do have to listen to your
Exactly.
body. But again, breathing from your diaphragm, as you inhale, your pelvic floor will soften and expand. And as you exhale, it gently almost lifts. There's also tools and stretching and birthing balls and Kegels and all of the other tactics that you can do to prepare as well. That was definitely a fear of mine going into labor or before I went into labor. But looking back, I healed up within a
Right.
few weeks.
Like you say, a lot of women have a fear of tearing, but it's something that's far more common than not.
Right.
It's nothing to be afraid of. It's just a fact of the matter that there is that possibility that you may tear. So let's talk about preparing for unmedicated birth, not having an epidural. I know when you said you went to the hospital, it was too late to even get an epidural at this point. So, what advice would you give to someone who's on the fence about having a natural birth or getting an epidural? What would you say for you were the pros of not having an epidural?
I would say just don't put too much pressure on it. If you were absolutely set on it, go for it. You were built for this and you're going to be okay
Right.
regardless. I have a good friend that was so set on a natural birth, but she was having anxiety and was nervous. And I told her, don't force it. If you decide, I want that epidural, girl, get that epidural. I think a lot of women have this vision of how they want their birth and their labor to be. And they go into it with this very strict plan. But I think you've got to be open minded that things might take a turn. You don't want to set yourself up for failure or disappointment, right? Don't pressure yourself to do anything that you don't want to do. I've seen a lot of those cliche moments where the mom's like, I'm going to do natural birth. And then they're like, give me the epidural. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you are set on having a natural birth, don't create strict expectations. There's so many things you can do to prepare to increase your chances of that happening. For me, I envision a sound machine and a warm bath and my husband rubbing my back and all these different things. Even though I had a fast birth, I think I psyched myself out a little bit once we first got home from the hospital and my hormones were going crazy. I didn't really feel like I got to enjoy it. I was laboring in the room alone and we didn't even know that was happening. I would say a lot of it is mental. Birth isn't just physical, it's deeply emotional. So, like you said earlier, trusting your body will give you the power and help you make informed decisions, letting go of expectations and reminding yourself that you were made for this moment, that you were built for it. And if you find yourself forcing one option over the other or getting anxiety or stressing about trying to have a natural birth when you know what comes down to it and you start to feel a different type of way or you're just like, give me the epidural, that's totally okay too.
Yeah. I know a lot of women feel kind of like failures sometimes if they're set on having a natural birth and then they're like, nope, I need that epidural. And it lingers over into that postpartum phase where they're feeling like failures and it's hard to accept the birth that they had. But I love that you put it in a way where it's like, either way, as long as you and your baby are healthy, that's all that matters. Things change at the end of the day. And like you said, a lot of birth is mental. So wherever the mind goes, the body follows. And so going into birth and knowing that the only certainty in birth is knowing that it's uncertainty there. There's so many things that can happen, so many different things that can change, and being able to go with the flow and just pivot and having an open mindset is the biggest thing because you never know what you may encounter, especially as someone that's a first time mom. No birth is the same. So you may go in with one expectation and you may come out with a different reality, but just knowing at the end of the day that it is absolutely okay as long as you and your baby are fine. Whichever way you chose to deliver your baby is completely fine.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So let's talk about your prep. When you did all of your prep, were there any books? Did you take any childbirth education classes? Was there anything that you did to prepare yourself for that natural birth that you had?
Yeah, two books come to mind. One of them is very cliche, What to Expect When You're Expecting. I know that book's been around forever, but it is a one-stop shop for all of your questions. And they come out with a brand new version almost every year. It's very up to date, and it's just a great resource to have on hand. The other one that I really love is called Risen Motherhood. It is gospel driven. If you're spiritual, if you're a Christian, this one will definitely resonate with you. It's written by Emily Jensen and Laura Wiffler, and they have a website with a lot of other resources, journals, and other books that they've published, risenmotherhood.com. They have podcasts, journals, other books that they've published that I have yet to read. Motherhood can be very isolating if you allow it to be. You're in your own world and dealing with your own struggles. So even if you are an introvert or even if you struggle with finding resources, force yourself to find a support group, a lactation consultant, a doula, a church, a community, a blog, something, right? Something where you can go and you can talk to other women. Despite how it may look, I am sometimes hesitant to tap into other resources or to reach out for help. Once I forced myself to do it, I was really, really glad that I did, and I learned a lot. I'm a Christian, so having my church family Bible study group was also really helpful for me. We did a very generic educational labor class. I didn't think I was going to get a lot out of it. My husband went with me as well. That was really great because you get to meet other women that are a close due date to yours, and you get to hear so many other stories and other struggles, and you realize you're not alone. I actually got a lot out of that. I learned a lot and took a lot away from that class and really enjoyed going. And it was also like a good bonding experience for my husband and I too. So those are a few tips that I have to provide.
Having people that you can go to, especially that's going through something similar, is so important to just be able to share an experience with someone, especially as a first time mom. So, this time around, is there anything that you're doing differently that you did not do during your first pregnancy?
Letting go of control and letting go of trying to plan everything. I was really psycho on the apps and trying to input data. I think now just going with the flow is a huge relief. But the reality is, no matter how much you plan, no matter how prepped you are, no matter how much you work out and how healthy you eat, things will not go as planned. Many things will come up that are unexpected, right? I think just trusting the process, trusting your body, but releasing those expectations and letting Mother Nature take its course is a much better approach. When you truly believe in your body's ability to birth, you can move through the process with peace and with strength, even when things don't go perfectly. Then you're not setting yourself up for disappointment. Easier said than done, though.
Yes, it is. You've given so many good gems and so much knowledge and wisdom. So, what would you want women listening to this to take away from everything that you've said?
Gosh, there's a few things, but I think the first one is everybody's birth story is going to be different. It's going to be beautiful in its own way. It's probably not going to go as planned. So just trust yourself, trust your body, and give yourself grace. You don't want to set yourself up for disappointment because it didn't go the way that you pictured it, because most likely it won't. But whatever happens, as long as you have a healthy baby in the end of the day in your arms, that is all that matters. The second thing I will say to everyone watching is you're a lot stronger than you think. No matter, again, how your baby enters the world, no matter what your struggles are, bringing life into the world is just one of the most amazing miracles. Women are just so amazing, so powerful, and being able to give life and give birth is just so miraculous. Birth is raw, it's real, it's different for everyone. And again, what matters most is that you and the baby are healthy. So always come back to that, no matter what your anxieties or your fears or your concerns are. The final thing I will say is don't compare your story to anyone else's. It's really easy with social media to focus on all the aesthetics, but your journey is yours and it's yours alone. And that is what makes it special, right? Give yourself some grace. It's not going to come out quite as planned, so don't set unrealistic expectations. Trust yourself, and again, give yourself some grace.
Oh, yes. I love all of that. I want you to let the listeners know where can they connect with you to follow along with your story, to see when baby number two arrives, and just get all of the deets on you.
I'm on most social media platforms, but I focus most of my time when I'm not working to my Instagram account. It's at Mom Life Chose Me. I would love to connect with anybody, answer any questions. You can get recipes on there. I post a lot of funny content as well, but all related to motherhood. I would love to meet some people or hear other stories. I would do November 16th, so I've got like about 3 more weeks left, and I definitely plan on taking my followers along with me on that journey and hopefully be able to share a little more than I did last time, just because I was so sick with HG that I didn't really get to film or to share as much as I would have liked. And I also didn't really know what to expect. This time around, we're a little bit more prepared. I also have an Amazon storefront where I share a lot of my favorite postpartum, prenatal, and baby items as well. So if you have any questions, reach out to me. I would love to connect. I would love to meet you guys. And Candace, thank you so much for having me. It was really, really great to have this conversation with you.
Yes, thank you so much, Kayla. This conversation has been a beautiful, beautiful reminder that every birth unfolds in its own perfect way. And I hope this story has encouraged you to trust your body, your intuition, and ultimately your own journey. If today's episode spoke to you, take a moment to share it with another mama who needs to hear it. Leave a comment below and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. This is Candace Jackson reminding you that your voice and your story matter more than you know. Until next time, be well, mama.